Oh, I can give you a hallucination one. This is a good one. So I had a client one time who, he was a schizophrenic. I met him in a behavioral inpatient ward in Montreal, and I was doing an IQ test with him, and he wasn't concentrating at all. And so I said, "Why aren't you concentrating?" And he was looking all distracted, and he said, "Because the battle between good and evil in heaven is going on in my head," which I thought was the most interesting reason for not concentrating I had ever heard. And then I spent some time like getting to know him, walking around with him for some hours on the ward, and even though he was paranoid, he opened up to me after a while, and I asked him about how his illness had developed, and he was the third son of a first-generation immigrant family, and so, you know, there was a lot of ambition in the family, and his oldest brother was a doctor, and then the second oldest was a lawyer, or maybe the other way around. And so he was taking a master's degree in some behavioral science at McGill, and he got behind, and so he faked his research data, and he wrote up his thesis, and then he handed it in, and then that night he went home and went to sleep, and he woke up in the middle of the night, and the devil was sitting on his bed at the end. And that was the beginning of his schizophrenic illness. And so that's the hallucination manifestation of an unconscious moral conflict. Well, unconscious to some degree. He knew that he had done wrong. What he wasn't conscious of was exactly how much damage that was going to do to him. Now, you know, you could say, well, maybe he had a predisposition to psychosis before he faked his data, and that was interfering with his performance, and that's why he got behind, and, you know, who knows? These things are usually complexly, causally looped, but there was no doubting the phenomenology, and when he said that he couldn't concentrate on the IQ test because the battle between good and evil in heaven was going on in his head, he meant it, whatever that means. And when he told me that he woke up and saw the devil sitting at the foot of his bed, like that was a hallucination, well, fair enough. But that really doesn't explain it, which is why people in mental hospitals generally don't talk to schizophrenics, because they'll tell you things that'll curl your hair if you listen, and they're very difficult to make sense of. And that's partly why Freud noted at the beginning of this lecture in the little recording that I played for you that his ideas were met with incomprehension and hostility, and continue to be met in that manner to this day. See you soon.